So the McLaren IndyCar soap opera continues. Théo Pourchaire has walked back the comments that he made to AUTOhebdo yesterday. Before we read the statement, I think it's very important to point out that there are some headline readers out there, and there are folks who maybe aren't paying attention or understand exactly it is that I do here. When a publication like AUTOhebdo puts out a story like that, you have to take it seriously. AUTOhebdo is on shelves across bookstores and magazine stores in France. They're essentially the equivalent to Racer magazine in the United States, although I would say they're bigger. They're a weekly publication, and you can go to the train station and buy it, right? So when they come out with an article that has these kinds of claims in them said by a former driver of McLaren, that is 100% newsworthy and worthy of commentary. Yes, I break news on this channel. This was not the news that I broke. I gave it full credit to AUTOhebdo for breaking that story. And the unfortunate reality is that AUTOhebdo is going to be the one who is going to have to kind of face the backlash for this. Not that I think that they were wrong or they even, there's a claim that they took Teo's comments out of context, and we'll have to wait and see, right? I guess the advantage that I have is that when drivers or team owners or whoever, goes on the record with me and I publish their statements, it's in video form, right? There's a microphone in the front of their face. There's a very clear distinction about, what is being said on and off the record. And if there is a question of whether or not something is taken out of context, the context is provided by the video evidence. So really, this is something that I think is interesting because as the world changes and as people get more and more skeptical and as the media landscape changes, I think it's just going to become more and more important for interview quotes and interviews to be done, even if they are written down to be filmed, because, it creates messy situations like this. This isn't even the first incident of something like this happening in the IndyCar season this year, and I will suspect it's probably not going to be the last. So what I would say to any media members out there, make sure you film your interviews. Don't just voice record them, although that's important. Film them, because otherwise you can have people make claims and it's very difficult. It's a he said versus she said argument at that point, and people will believe who they believe. But the important aspect of this is that Théo Pourchaire put out this statement on his Q&A with AUTOhebdo, and it reads like this. I've read the article published on AUTOhebdo this week, and I'm disappointed how grossly inaccurate my words and comments portrayed my interview. While I was surprised McLaren's decision to take me out of the car ahead of Laguna Seca, we ended on amicable terms. Sure, it's disappointing not to be racing with the team, but they've held up and respected all the areas of their contract, and Zach, Gavin, and Tony, along with the rest of the team, have been fully supportive of me and my wish to get back into IndyCar and other racing. There is no question on Aero McLaren's stability and its partnerships and their funding. So for AUTOhebdo to include that in my interview, it's absolutely false. I'm appreciative of the time I had with the team. There are no hard feelings, and I hope this helps correct the perception there's been around the team and myself. And I said to you guys, anytime this rumor has come up about the funding at McLaren, right? McLaren has denied it to anybody who will listen, okay? The newsworthiness of Teo's statement in that article is that he was the first person who has been affiliated with McLaren in any way to lend any credibility to those rumors. And so now it's very, very interesting to me and gives me some more questions than I think answers as to why he has now walked back that statement. Is it because as McLaren continues to tell other members of the media that the rumors are completely untrue about Aero leaving or other partners coming in to fill that gap? Nolan Siegel is on the record as to saying that he did not pay McLaren any money, no money exchanged hands from his family or elsewhere for him to get the ride. He's there on talent. Again, he's on the record saying these things. Théo Pourchaire apparently went on the record and said these things. Now, why or where did he hear them, or why did AUTOhebdo include that in their article? That remains to be seen. But the statement now is from Théo Pourchaire that that is incorrect, and McLaren's stability and its partnerships and their funding is, in his words, there's no question. I think a lot of people on Twitter, now we call it X, but I call it Twitter, were really lighting Tony Kanaan up yesterday about this article, even before I made my video. And, you know, we have said a lot of times that Tony Kanaan chose Nolan Siegel for that ride, right? It was Tony's decision. It was Tony's idea. Tony saw something in Nolan. They took an opportunity and got their guy. It is also interesting to see that they ended in amicable terms, and the contract was held up. So it's quite interesting that as well, because obviously that's always a question with McLaren these days about, you know, contracts ever since the Alex Palou thing, and even if we remember back to the Formula One situation a couple of years ago. So it's all very interesting. And in fact, speaking of Tony Kanaan, Tony made a statement as well that he posted on Twitter, and he said, Teddy, of course, if you don't know, Teddy Pork Chops is the name that the team gave Théo Pourchaire. And he said, I would repeat out loud what we spoke on the phone today, but we will keep that between us and put the plan in action soon. So there's a lot more questions to be answered there, exactly what that means. If I had to speculate, perhaps there's a technical alliance coming with Arrow McLaren and another team, and maybe Théo Pourchaire would be placed there at that team. Who knows? Of course, their alliance, which was a commercial marketing one with Juncos Hollinger, ended this year. So maybe there's something, there's a space that Arrow McLaren will want to fill elsewhere on the grid, or help fill elsewhere on the grid. Maybe Théo Pourchaire is in that thought for them. And so it's interesting that this also confirms that a conversation took place at least between Tony Kanaan and Théo Pourchaire today, although he mentioned Zach and Gavin Ward, who is the team principal at Arrow McLaren. One has to think that words were exchanged between Théo and all three members of the leadership at Arrow McLaren prior to this statement being put out. So, yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. I mean, when this article came out, I wouldn't even say it's surprising that Théo walked back his comments, right? I think that the comments surprised me that he went as deep as he did in a variety of ways, and I'm also not surprised that he had to put out a statement walking them back. It's an interesting situation. I'm sure it will continue to develop, and I guess I'm especially interested to find out what Tony Kanaan means about this plan he has for Théo Pourchaire in the future. But I'm sure you've already let me know what you think about this whole situation down in the comment section below. Got coverage this weekend of the NASCAR Cup Series return to the Brickyard 400. I'll also be on IndyCar Radio for practice at 3 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So tune in for that. I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.